Okay, this is the third in a series of, I can't tell you exactly how many, four major videos about the eight orders. And this is the one you've all been waiting for. We're actually going to look at the map, at least a graphic of the map. The map is actually, hopefully, something that you're going to be able to hold in your heads when you get familiar with it. It'll be something you carry around with you all the time, but it really helps to have one of these hanging on the refrigerator or someplace where you can access it. So I hope you have printed this out someplace. We're going to take a look at this. We're going to walk through each of these aspects of it, but I'm going to do this on Zoom because it gives me a little greater flexibility for being able to show you what it is that we're doing. So we're going to switch over to Zoom now. Okay, so here we are in Zoom, and here is on the screen you can see the whole graphic of the map, and this is the graphic of the 8 stages in the development of the proximal self, which is the most commonly used, for my purposes, version of the map. It's something that I use as a psychotherapist in helping people see kind of where are you and what are the challenges that you're facing and why is this happening and why is this absolutely understandable that you're grappling with what you're grappling with. Remember, in any kind of cognitive map, the first thing it'll tell us is where are we? And the second thing is where might I be? And the third thing is what do I need to do to get there? And so this map is intended to help us do that. So I'm going to kind of walk you through kind of as a legend for this. So this first here column, the orders, these are the numbers of the orders. And you know that we move from bottom to top because we tend to think of more complex, expanded consciousness as being higher consciousness. So the map actually goes from the bottom to the top. And it starts down here in kind of without us having any clear experience, and then it moves up into the kinds of experiences that we have as our identity. This is the locus. Remember, we talked about perspectives, locus, focus, and lens. This is where I'm coming from. Now, you will see that these colors here are identified. These are from the work of Ken Wilber, which is an expansion of the work of Clare Graves and Beck and Cowan in what's called spiral dynamics, which looks more at how it is that cultures or collectives of humans, nations, tribes relate and evolve. But Wilber takes this into looking at individual and much more looking at the ways all kinds of systems function. And so we're building on the work of Ken Wilber here, as well as you can see on this far side over here, this is David Benner's self-centers. And I put this in here in part because he's talking about essentially the same kind of progression, but he doesn't line it up in quite the same way. I could similarly do this with Jean Gebser's work or Abraham Maslow's work. There's lots of different developmental psychologists, and they focus at different parts, and they put the divisions or the steps in various places, but it's basically all of one continuum. You will notice when you look at the colors over here, this is the spectrum. And in a genuine spectrum, there is no clear demarcation between the various colors. And that's actually what was going on here. These are very shaded differences. Although, as Jean Gebser points out, when it comes to the movement from one stage to the next, it's not gentle. It is, he actually refers to it as, I don't know what the German word he uses is, but it's a mutation. That there is an actual significant shift in how it is that we are functioning, that suddenly things are different in a significant way. And it's sort of like with an earthquake, there's sort of aftershocks, but we discover, oh, wait, there's a different way of looking at this that actually works better for me. So this is where I'm coming from, this is what I focus on, and this is what I'm looking through. And each of these move through a series of greater and greater complexity through these stages that we've already talked about, the personal, the material, or realms or layers or dimensions or domains. There are lots of different ways we can talk about these. But the personal or material domain, the interpersonal relational domain, the intrapersonal internal domain, what's happening inside of me, and the transpersonal spiritual domain. Now, as we look at this, I want you to know that there's a lot of studies that have been done about where are people and how do we know kind of what is your current best, highest level of development. And there's lots of really good work that's been done on this. And if you're interested, I can, point you to some of this. Robert Keegan was the person who I first knew to have done real deep work with this. And what he discovered was that he could really identify in these first four, actually measuring sort of where is somebody cognitively in each of these. You start to get to the higher ones, and it gets harder to do this empirically because there are fewer people who are able to think at these higher levels. And so it's harder to verify. But there are certain patterns that we see with the lower orders that we can pretty much assume will continue to we get to the higher ones. So for example, when we look at the personal or material realm, my sense of who I am is I am my experience at first order. Whatever's happening is what there is. That's me. I am cold. I am hungry. I am tired. At second order, I am the one who's having the experience. And so what I can do is make choices so that I have mastery over it. I'm going to change what I'm doing so that I can actually change what my experience is. At second order, I'm making choices that impact first order. Similarly, we then discover, well, there's the interpersonal realm. Other people want things of me. They have expectations of me, and there's a certain role that I am expected to play in order to show up in those relationships. So my teacher is telling me to do this. My dad wants me to clean my room. There are various things that I am expected to do so that I get the approval of others, and I feel secure in my role and thus get the esteem. I have value in my relationships with others because I'm showing up in the right way, in an honorable way. Now, most of us, most of the time, are living pretty comfortably at third order. We know what the law is. We can speak the language. There's a whole lot of stuff that arises at third order that gives shape to our culture. But at some point, we begin to say, I've got to find my own path here. I need to find my own way in life. And we begin to define who it is that we are going to be, that I get to decide how it is that I'm going to show up. And so I may be going against what third order tells me I'm supposed to do. So I may be sort of defying social norms in some way in order to exercise my own individuality. Now, folks at third order, if they see us choosing our own path, what they're likely to say is, this is a person who's just at second order. They're just sort of acting out. They're being reactive to things. They're not actually being creative. So this is a huge step to be able to move from third order to fourth order, where we assert who it is that we are in contradistinction to what other people tell us to be. But having figured out that we want to be at fourth order, this is who I am. I get to say who I'm going to be. Then I discover that I'm not actually doing what I decided to do. I decided that I was going to be real healthy. I was going to eat well. I'm exercising. I'm going to be a fit person. And yet here I am eating a jelly donut. What is that about? Right? So what I discover is that there is a part of me in my own interior that wants a jelly donut, just as there's a part of me that wants me to be fit and healthy and so forth. So I discover that there are contradictory impulses in me. I have many parts of me, and they don't all agree with me. And so I have lots of different perspectives. So we notice over here this column, currency lens. This is sort of the currency of this particular stage of development. Is at first order, the currency is what experiences am I having? This is what's on my bucket list. What have I been able to do? At second order, the currency is possessions. What do I have? What do I own? What do I control? Now, unfortunately, we have a lot of very powerful, wealthy people in our society now for whom second order is about as far as they've gotten. They may be interested in esteem. They may want other people to admire them, and so they do things that give them status, like buying a yacht. Whoa, wow, what a cool yacht that is. But they're not actually being authentic because they don't really know who it is they want to be. They're only interested in being who they think others will admire them for being. By the time we get up here to fifth order, up to green, the currency here is perspectives. How many different points of view can I see from? Now, most people, fifth order is above most people in our society. Most people don't even know that there are multiple valid perspectives, much less want to possess them. But if we can see from multiple perspectives and we can hold them into an integrated way, now we've moved up to sixth order. And this is a place where we can resolve our internal conflicts, and we get to choose which of the perspectives we have and the abilities that we have that we're going to use. We are far more a self-constructed person because we know that what we're making in the world is ourselves, our own unfolding. We are not in control of what happens around us. We are only in control of how we react to that which is around us. Now, I will say a little bit here about seventh and eighth order because it's there, but I don't know anybody who lives there. I know lots of people who have been there momentarily, maybe have had a moment of unitive consciousness, of pure unbounded awareness in a kind of flash of a mystical awareness. It is possible for people to have this as a way of constructing themselves, to be able to see that they are in harmony with everything and they are in effect seeing through the eyes of God. I would argue that this is what it actually means when we talk as Christians, to be in Christ, is to be able to see from this perspective. It doesn't mean that I am God, because I, as we typically think of it, I am a separate person. I is usually down here at first through fourth orders. That's our ego. When we begin to get up to fifth order and above, we discover that I have an ego. It's very valuable to have an ego. I can't go to the grocery store without taking my ego with me, but that's not my primary identity. That's like the car I drive. That's not my fundamental identity. And that's something that distinction, that movement from dual to non-dual awareness is something that happens here between fifth and sixth order. And you'll notice there's that dark line that is that demarcation. So my question for us is, do we want to be someone who can function at sixth, seventh, eighth order? Do we want to get to that non-dual awareness? Do we want to be at what's sometimes referred to as a second-tier consciousness? And I will assure you that this is actually possible, but it's not easy because it requires that we be doing our own work and paying attention to, and this is where it gets difficult, I've got to pay attention to my own interior. Because without paying attention to my own interior, I'm not getting to fifth order and doing the fifth order work here that will move me up to sixth, seventh, eighth orders. Okay? So, any questions? Let me know.